kancane kancane sizophumelela amabakho ngibana
Esimnyama ngekani sakebhula umhlaba zawubukisa phansi naphezulu iyo Jose siyabulela Esimnyama ngekani sakebhula umhlaba zawubukisa phansi naphezulu iyo Jose siyabulela wafika eMzantsi Afrika.
Let me steal the quote from Coach Siya Maloka, on Twitter when he wrote 3 goals, 3 points, clean sheet, up the Bucks, once always. And that's exactly what I'm saying today as I welcome you in the BigDaddy Football Corner, for this post-match tactical analysis, for the game between Orlando Pirates and Chippa United, played at Nelson Mandela Stadium, a game that finished with Orlando Pirates winning, emphatic win, from Orlando Pirates, dominance from the first to the last minute, and they won that match by 3-0. And please, ladies and gentlemen, if you have not subscribed into the channel, please subscribe, and those that have subscribed, thank you. So I say again, subscribe, and subscribe once again. Mafetu, thank you. Let's get into the match. Coming into this match, your Orlando Pirates, pressure was mounting on Orlando Pirates, to do well in this match, especially because Sundowns collected 3 points on Saturday. Kaizer Chiefs collected 3 points on Saturday. They are up there, in the top 4, and Orlando Pirates was languishing down there, in the 9th place coming to this game. And depending on how the Marumo match, would end, Orlando Pirates could move into number 5 into that league currently. And there was a joke that I saw that was flying around. Somebody posted and he said, Kaizer Chiefs this season is Sundowns. Sundowns this season is Orlando Pirates. Orlando Pirates this season is Kaizer Chiefs. I found that very, very interesting. Let's go into the lineup of the match. It was beautiful to see Lebito starting, finally coming back. He's been in the 1.5 year that he's been at Orlando Pirates. He has spent most of his time, injured. He has been very, very unlucky. He's one of the players that have been unlucky, just like Oli Sandai as well. In the same lineup, Mahopa came back, but the rest of the team remained the same, right? Let's go to the first half. I honestly think that Orlando Pirates started the game like a house on fire. From the first minute up into the last minute, they dominated play, they dominated position in this particular match. And it was very, very interesting, to see, that start, because in the previous game that Orlando Pirates have played, Pirates will always start on a very low gear and then pick up the match, and then in the second half make substitution and win the game. But in the very first minute, we were dominant. The players looked fresh, looked a little bit energized, and they wanted to win that game. Again, Orlando Pirates were playing with a box shape build-up of a 2-2 build-up, but it was also a little bit asymmetric, as I normally say, because that's the shape that Coach Wadu has just decided to go with. Where Hotto will be more up, but Ulebito will be more a little bit down. So it's like shaped like this, a little bit. But also at some point Ulebito will also go up, but then we asked Hotto not to also go up in the same line as the right back. Again, the pivot was a staggered pivot. Unduli Nombata. Unduli was more in the lower arm most of the time. Umbata was more higher. And I noticed that Chippa, especially in the very first 5-10 minutes, they were pressing with 2 players, but the two players were forming a straight line, and the first player will be pressing the center back that has the ball. They were not concerned so much about Ushayine having the ball, and the second player will then be positioned in a way that he prevents the pass, using his shadow, prevent the pass, from the pass into the middle. They do not want any passes in Orlando Pirates, they wanted to ensure that they block Orlando Pirates from playing through the middle. And I think this is something that I've always been saying, that teams in South Africa, when they want to ensure that they always play, when they play against Orlando Pirates, they always make sure that the central corridor is overloaded and congested, and they ensure that they block Orlando Pirates from playing through the middle. That's why the coach Hotto then decided that if they block the middle, we are going to keep pumping, those diagonal balls into Hotto and use his pace and his energy on the left-hand side. They're using a box shape, in the middle to prevent Orlando Pirates' central progression. But what I noticed, Orlando Pirates, struggled a little bit in the build-up, especially in terms of building through the middle. And then to solve that problem, what they did? They then asked Ulokuzan, Apolis, that during the first phase, drop back, into the half space, be involved into the first phase. And then when he comes, he drops with the central midfielder from that central corridor, or from the half space, basically the inside half space. When he drops into that, and then Umbata will then join where Apolis is coming from, and then we will progress using Umbata. And even if it's Nduli, it was going to be the same, depending on who's lower and who's higher into the double pivot. A very early goal from Tito, and there's something that I tweeted about during Orlando Pirates preseason, and I said, Coach Abdesalam Wadu wants to tweak the Orlando Pirates man-to-man press, and it was evident during the preseason that it's something that they've been working on. And today it was bearing fruit. Somebody can come and say, Chippa was making mistakes. If Orlando Pirates did not have those pressing traps, that coordinated press, they wouldn't have made those particular mistakes. And I think I said this during preseason. I said Orlando Pirates press is improving. It looks like a bit more coordinated. It looks like to be more in sync. And I said PSL teams will find it hard to play out when they are playing Orlando Pirates. And today, today was the day when that came out, and everybody could see, that Orlando Pirates' press is improved. But mostly, as much as not as intense as I would like it to be, but it is coordinated. Because when the two players, if we are pressing with two, when the two players press, or we are pressing with one, behind him the entire team follows the press. And for the press to be effective, you need both, the players that are involved in the first and the second phase of the press to be always, in sync in that game. And that's how Orlando Pirates scored, the first goal. Tito, how he delayed the pass a little bit so that the defender, can actually make, the particular tackling, and the goalkeeper makes a move, and then he scored the goal, right? And in the entire first half, Chippa struggled, to play out in the part. Actually, in the entire game, they struggled, and I keep saying they struggled to play out. And I keep saying that if you want to beat Orlando Pirates, it's better you go for the low, for the mid to low block. If you want to push the line like Chippa pushed it higher, you also want to build up, you are going to be caught by Orlando Pirates. Even the Sundowns themselves, they were not playing their patient, build up and fluid build up from the back from the goalkeeper when they were playing, because they knew that Orlando Pirates press is that organized this particular season, right? Second, the other thing as well that I noticed, which was very interesting in the first and the second half, was how in attack, when Orlando Pirates had possession, they were using more of Tito and Apolis to stay in the half spaces. Apolis will always be in the left in the half space. Tito will always be on the right in the half space, and they will use them to progress play all the time. I don't know how many times there were half turns and attack from the half spaces. From the entire match, it was the same picture, and same picture all over again. The other thing is Chippa, for me, using Figueiredo and using his pace to run in the shoulder of the defenders and making runs in between the center backs. For me, I don't think it will work with this Orlando Pirates center back, because they are very quick. Usiema, no, Mbogas. They might not be good when the ball is in the air because of their height and their ability, to defend set pieces. But when you play the ball behind them, or you play ball in the shoulders and you say, let's run, they are very quick. And I think that's what nullified Figueiredo in the entire game. And then the goal from Hotto. I don't know if people noticed, but so that Hotto, in this match, he did not really celebrate. And he seemed like he was crying after scoring the goal, It was like he was saying, at last, I scored a goal, And it talks so much about the pressure that these players have, and the noise surrounding them whenever they play, especially Hotto, because people have always been talking about him and how and how they don't want him anymore to play for our opponents. But I think he's one of the most, I've always been saying this in this channel, he's one of the most hardworking players at Orlando Pirates. He's a good example of what we call, a disciplined player. And it was good for me, to see him scoring a goal, after the performance that he has put, because he has been missing a couple of chances for Orlando Pirates. And then the other thing that I love was Umbata today, because in the goal that was scored by Hotto, he attempted a pass. It was intercepted. Ulokuzan, Apollo scored it, laid the pass, and that's how he scored the goal. Again, in the third goal, it was almost similar thing in the fact that he tried to make that pass and it was intercepted. Then he made that nice long pass, over the line, and that's Orlando Pirates, scored the goal. The other thing that I noticed in the first half, there was a lot of chances Orlando Pirates, ahead in this particular match. I felt like Orlando Pirates could have easily win by 5 or 6 goals. And I was sitting there, especially after the first half, I was like, after Orlando Pirates have missed so many chances, if it was to happen that Chippa gets one and score, and the game finish in a draw, people are going to come in for the coach. And nobody is going to say, why about the players and the chances that have been created? The scapegoat will be the coach again. A penalty for Orlando Pirates, in the second half. I've said it before in the channel. I don't like to talk about referee's decision, because 1 minute it is in your favor, next minute is not your favor. It's not in your favor. But in this one, I don't think the player it was a penalty. I think if it was a foul, it was outside the box. I was to a certain extent I was happy that Tito missed, simply because I did not want Orlando Pirates to win this match, and people will have this hold of saying, yeah, it's referee decision, that's why they won. Again, if you look at the penalty, the goalkeeper, make that first, step forward before the goal was kicked. But I don't want to talk about that because it's now there, right? But what frustrated me, or that frustrated the hell out of me in this game, was Orlando Pirates' corner kick, because most of the time they will always have those in swings and the all swings are up there in the air, and they've got a goalkeeper who's as tall and who's dominant into this area. Umnobali just grab those balls, and I was really frustrated because they keep on doing it each and every time, high up in the air, in swing, and the goalkeeper catches it. For me, Apollos, what a spectacle, in my own view. Congratulations to him for winning man of the match. In the third goal, at some point, I was like, yeah, is he going to score? I thought at some point, he's not going to take the chance. But for me, this is exactly... let me start here. I was very impressed by how Orlando Pirates were moving the ball around, fluid passing, domination, of play. It is a true reflection of what we call positional play framework. And I've always been hearing people say Orlando Pirates is playing positional play. And I think today it is a true definition of it, because this framework has 4 key things that it needs to have. Number 1 is the occupation of space and the occupation of zone, by creating passing lanes, by doing overloads and by doing triangles, into that. Then number 2 is the third man run principle, which we've seen in Orlando Pirates' previous match, is the superiorities, in the entire field. I'm talking about the numerical superiority, positional superiority, qualitative superiority, right? And then the last one is the domination of the game, in and out of possession. For me, this game is a true reflection of what we say when we say Orlando Pirates, under the coach, Abdesalam Wadu, ticks all the boxes of a positional play framework in this instance, right? So, ladies and gentlemen, if there's anything that I've missed, please let me know. I want to make this video a little bit longer. Please like, share, and comment into this video, and please subscribe to the Big Daddy Football Corner. Danko.